So here's a tidbit of information you may not know about the origin of the phrase conspiracy theory. According to investigative journalist Sharyl Attkisson, you remember her, she's the journalist who had to leave CBS because they wouldn't let her run stories that reflected badly on President Barack Obama, even though she'd run plenty of stories that reflected badly on George W. Bush. But anyway, in Atkinson's book Smear, she talks about the fact that the phrase conspiracy theory was invented by the CIA in 1967 as a way to discredit people who suspected the CIA of conspiracies. The spy agency was apparently responsible for promoting the phrase conspiracy theory for use as a powerful device in the lexicon of the smear artist, Atkinson writes. Before the covert CIA effort, which we can pinpoint to a secret memo in 1967, there was nothing controversial about discussing or exposing conspiracies. After all, a conspiracy is simply an agreement by two or more people to commit a bad act. Atkinson goes on, yet after the CIA secret memo, the public and media were brainwashed into dismissing out of hand those labeled as conspiracy theorists, as if only the mentally unbalanced would believe in the existence of conspiracies. Conspiracy theories have frequently thrown suspicion on our organization, reads the internal CIA memo. The aim of this memo is to provide material for countering and discrediting the claims of the conspiracy theorists. The CIA memo goes on to advise station chiefs to employ propaganda assets, friendly journalists and others, to use certain talking points. For instance, see if these talking points sound familiar. Argue that this conspiracy is nothing new. Insist that a large-scale conspiracy would be impossible to conceal in the United States. Smear critics as politically or financially motivated, hasty and inaccurate, or infatuated with their own theories. Now, yesterday, Andrew McCabe had to leave the FBI more suddenly than he planned. McCabe now joins James Comey, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, James Baker, and Jim Rybicki as FBI employees who were involved in the investigation of Hillary Clinton's secret email server and have since left or been reassigned under a cloud of suspicion. This doesn't necessarily prove that the Clinton investigation was mishandled or that the FBI is involved in a more tangled web of anti-Republican activity. But we do know this. The lack of journalistic curiosity about the behavior of our government during the Barack Obama administration was an invitation to exactly that kind of government corruption. Just as a reminder, here's a montage of our journalistic watchdogs asking President Obama the tough questions during his time in office.
A lot of parallels have been offered between yourself and John F. Kennedy, who also made history, came in with a young, attractive family, had a lot of big Harvard brains around him.
When was the first moment that it began to sink in that you were president of the United States?
Ask you about it. Any time in this campaign, did you have a chuckle that you just couldn't get rid of? Something weird that happened. It was so crazy that you just went to bed laughing about.
How confident are you that your plan is going to work, and how do you avoid the dangers of being too cocky?
You racked up a lot of wins in the last few weeks that a lot of people thought would be difficult to come by. Are you ready to call yourself the comeback kid?
You know, you are the equivalent of a rock star in politics.
Do you feel sometimes like your administration is not given the credit it deserves?
Where do you get all this confidence?
How does this feel of all the honors that have come your way?
During these first 100 days, what has surprised you the most about this office, enchanted you the most about serving in this office?
That was then, but now, yesterday, soon after McCabe's resignation, the House Intelligence Committee voted on party lines to release a Republican-authored memo on possible FISA abuses at the Justice Department. We'll talk about that throughout the show. Here's one reaction from the press. It's a representative reaction. And remember, this is a press who has not yet read the memo. Watch this.
Donald Trump never just allows himself to have a straight shot at anything. Here we have the State of the Union coming up tonight. That should be the focus, but instead, you look at what happened last night in the House, and you had Nunes's memo, which twists the truth, and it plays these crude political games with highly secret intelligence that Mika, most of the Republicans who voted to release this controversial memo that the Justice Department said would be extraordinarily reckless had never even read the memo. And many who did read Nunes's memo say that it falsely summarized the reality, and it's filled with all these falsehoods. And And these misleading conclusions, all in an attempt to slur law enforcement officers, that Donald Trump, I don't know how I should say this, he's targeted them for a political purge.
Now, I don't know for sure yet if there was a conspiracy against Republicans at the FBI, but the continued attempts of a one-sided press to ignore and even hide the steady and unceasing abuse of power by Obama and other Democrats does amount to a conspiracy of silence. And that's no theory. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show.